I'm sitting here with Greg Swan, a Minnesota blogger, at the Minnesota Bloggers Conference, first ever Minnesota Bloggers Conference. So the first question, why did you start blogging? How did you start blogging? How did you get into blog? Well, first of all, mention your blog.
Sure. So my blog is perfectporridge.com, a Minnesota music blog. Cover national, international, local music, reviews, live concert reviews, MP3s, videos, whatever else. I started a live journal back in the late 90s and was doing a lot of just personal blogging. Went through journalism school, got my PR degree, was working at an alternative news weekly in Des Moines, and when I moved up here to Minneapolis, I was no longer writing as much, and I kind of missed that. So I started a blog in 2004, 2003, started Perfect Porridge, and started writing music reviews on a regular basis. And wasn't really on a lot of the media lists at that time, so the CD would come out, and I'd write a review of the CD the day it came out, and then email the PR folks, or email the label and say, hey, I'm reviewing stuff, put me on your list. And this is at the same time that MySpace was taking over.
Right.
MySpace basically killed Rolling Stone in that same era, where it became more important to be online, and that the music bloggers were becoming the tastemakers. So, now it's progressed to the point that I'm getting more than 100 pitches a day, and it's overwhelming. I've created this beast that I have to feed every day. I do feed it every day. I do have at least one post every day. But since I had kids, kind of a lot of my live coverage has been cut back,
right.
and I'm not writing necessarily the long form reviews I was always writing. Sometimes it's like, here's a cool MP3 I'm listening to, that sort of thing.
So with your journalism beginnings, then you started blogging early. How did you have any notion of how blogging would affect journalism, or and if so, what is it? If not, what do you think now?
It was really fun when, going through J school and finishing my degree in early 2000s. We learned about what blogs were, but it was still a lot about news writing, right? But also, writing a headline so that it's catchy and catches people, and being sure that you put, the inverted pyramid of the least important information at the end. It's basically blogging, right? Soon after that, I remember coming up here and writing blogs in the comment section, really adding to that interactivity. I think we all remember when the Star Tribune added comments and what a big deal that was, and even today, the comments at the Star Tribune are contentious because they're angry and that sort of thing. So I think that the impact on journalism was basically unavoidable, and today, with the whole citizen journalism tag, am I a journalist? Am I not? Basically, I think it's an old argument, and that I'm a content producer, I'm a writer, and I appreciate I have an audience that I'm fulfilling a need for, so I don't really care if people consider me a journalist or not.
Right. Well, the internet has done a lot to sort of shake up. It's a polite term, the music industry. How has blogging, your experience in being a music blogger, how has blogging affected the music industry in general, and then musicians and bands' use of the platform itself? It's
really fun because, so I work at a huge PR firm with big clients, and then I have this music blog which runs in parallel, so I never have to write about a client or anything like that, and there's never crossover, which is really fun. But within my music blogging and outreach, the first ever embedded HTML widget I ever saw was in music. Some of the first kind of community engagement or street teaming I ever saw were from bands. Some of the first like Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails, monitoring Twitter, seeing who's waiting in line for his concert and giving them VIP passes, right? A lot of the strategies that I take and apply to clients are taken straight out of the music industry. A lot of the FTC issues, as far as I get all these free albums. I'm getting 30 to 50 physical albums in my music mailbox a week. I am probably getting more than 100 digital albums a week in my inbox, right? Am I disclosing that I received free music? Am I disclosing that I got free tickets to First Avenue to see this band, or I'll be seeing Flaming Lips at at XL or Roy Wilkins later this month. Like, will I say, and I got these free tickets, and what does that mean? So, and that directly correlates to what we're doing for our clients today, which I think is really fun.
Sure.
As far as how bands are using it. MySpace, which is a client of Weber Shandwick, but I do not work on the account, it is still one of my favorite places, and people are kind of surprised about that, but it is the place for bands. It has the most intuitive music player. It has all the tour dates right there. You have a mini street team there. You're able to broadcast to fans and kind of take their collective feedback back, which I think is really exciting, and it's still a really good tool. Basically the social tools have enabled bands to record their own albums and into GarageBand and share them that night. It's enabled bands to have long distance relationships where they can email MP3s back and forth and collaborate, which I think is really great. Toby Crines here locally put all of his tracks online with different mixes and had people vote on which had the best mix to put on his album. I think that's really fun, and it's bringing the end user into the album experience. At the end of the day, bands are no longer making money from selling music. They're making money off touring and merch and creative sponsorship royalties, and just being creative, right? So that community and building those communities is more important than it's ever been for bands, and I think it's definitely a precursor to where the overall industry is going, and brands should continue to watch musicians.
So are record labels dead?
Record labels aren't dead, and there's always going to be the Lady Gaga manufactured formulaic top 40 crap that's built to sell records that destroys the fabric of what being a musician really is, right? Elitist music blog, right? I think that the ability to be your own label is still important, is fantastic. But with that said, I think that artists aren't necessarily business people. So it always helps to have someone that has a little bit of training in marketing or A&R and distribution and shipping and all that kind of stuff to have your back so that you can just pick up your guitar and play.
Right. So your day job is Weber Shandwick. What do you do there?
So I'm a digital strategy director at Weber Shandwick, and basically that means I write, execute digital strategy for our clients. So that includes social media, but it also could include more linear digital things like websites, SEO, whatever the social media flavor of the month will be next month.
Right. What's the biggest thing that you've learned from blogging?
My biggest takeaway from blogging would be the blurring of ethical lines. So it's been really fun for me to be a blogger, get pitched in my kind of personal life, and then be a marketer and be executing blogger outreach as part of my job. Right. The ethics of getting offered bribes to write reviews or to run reviews that have been written already, or we'll buy ads on your site if you write about our band. And then the more transparent things, like that's been a huge takeaway for me. I think the other biggest takeaway is that things are going to continue to change. So, Twitter and Facebook has transformed how I share content on my blog to the point that it's one of the primary drivers of traffic to my blog. That's not good. That's completely different than it was 4 years ago, and 4 years from now it will be completely different. So just knowing inside that it's going to change, accepting it, and just being ready for the next thing.
Right. So people who are thinking about blogging, or new bloggers just getting started, what advice would you give them?
Two pieces of advice. The first is write about something you're passionate about and that so that it won't be laborious when you go to my second piece of advice, which is write and publish something every day. Your readers and building a followership are going to want something every day, and that doesn't mean that you can't take off a weekend or can't miss a day, but being consistent. When I started selling ads on my site, which I didn't purposefully go out and do, they came to me. One of the main reasons I didn't want to do that was that I would then be required or feel like I had to write something every day. But the good thing is this is something I'm personally passionate about, and I like to do it. So it fits naturally into my day. I don't need to block out time to write. I do tend to write a lot on the weekends, and then pre-schedule them so there's content all week. But it's something that I enjoy doing, so it hasn't become laborious, and I think those would be my 2 pieces of primary tips.
Right. Okay, so your website again is?
It is perfectporridge.com, or just Google Greg Swan.
Okay, and people can reach you on Twitter at?
I am on Twitter at Greg Swan or at Perfect Porridge.
Very good. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks.
All right.